Hello, beauties. Today I want to talk about procrastination. Now, first, I have a story because I wore procrastination like a badge of honor. It was just, well, that's me. And a lot of people do that regardless of what trait we're talking about, what pattern we have in our lives. Procrastination was big for me and still is. It's a big shadow for me. But some years ago, back when TV shows were getting a little more daring, and things like In Living Color came out. There was a show called She TV. At least in my memory, I think this is where it came from. But before I saw the show, I had told many people that I had this sort of mantra that was, I am procrastination woman. Hear me roar. Eventually. It was just a fun joke about how I will eventually get to things, and I would always end up sort of right at the edge of some sort of timeline and really have to crunch to get things done or whatever. I still do that a lot. I'm getting better. But here's the thing. I watched this show and there was a little skit, and She TV was all these beautiful, brilliant actors, and they did a spoof on Star Trek with a female captain, like Captain Kirk. And she was sitting at her console, and people were gathering around her, all the characters that might be in that show, right? And she's filing her nails and looking at them, and they're running in with Captain, oh my gosh, there's, invasion, or, somebody's after them, or whatever, very Star Trekky. And suddenly she finally stood up after they kept after her. She stood up and looked at all of them. She said, I am procrastination woman. I'll get to it eventually. Well, I nearly fell off the couch when I saw that. But I thought, I'm not the only one with this. So I wanted to talk about the 3 ways that procrastination can show up. And, the archetype of what procrastination really is. And the first one, I think a lot of us are familiar with. It's the idea of perfection, perfectionism. Just it has to be perfect, or I may as well not even try. Why bother? Why start if I can't do it completely perfect? Or I'll keep coming back to some things that I shouldn't even be focusing on and try to make them more perfect. Like I'll go on my website and fool around again and try to make it better, and it doesn't matter. I'm not doing what I should be doing, right? So how many of you can identify with wanting things to be perfect? And of course, if I actually came to you today being perfect, I would look like a robot. So I just have a couple bullet points and I'm going for it. And, I hope we're doing okay, right? So think about that. When are you trying to be perfect? The next one I thought was very interesting, and it's the rebel, the rebellious one. And we all have all of these archetypes within us. Some are just stronger. And to me, it was like, well, wait, I spent most of my time trying to be a good girl, trying to do things right, perfectly. But of course, we have times when we rebel. And this archetype shows up within us in unconscious or subconscious way, saying, don't tell me what to do. Are you kidding me? This really is a part of me. I don't want to be told what to do, even if it's the thing that will help me the most to get myself out here, to help you guys, to help women rise and shine, right? Okay, I'll accept that one. I have learned to give this part of me a name. And actually, I could have done that with the perfectionist, but the rebel is strong. And she is rebellious Rita, or rebel Rita. So I'm going to talk about talking to her in a second. So the third really floored me. And it's the archetype of the addict, the addiction to avoidance. And I was really pretty smug about never turning into an addict, at least except with chocolate. And that, came with alcohol and drugs that I tried, especially during some earlier years when I was younger and with my late husband. And I was always pretty proud of the fact that I didn't, turn into that. And so this really got me like, what? I am addicted to avoidance because of the perfectionism, I'm sure. But if I avoid it, I won't have to worry about it being right, being good enough. If I do that thing, what if they're going to criticize me or, say I'm a fraud or, how many times have we as women, kind of shrunk back? Or maybe I'm too much and I'm too loud or I'm too boisterous and I come on too strong, whatever it is. Avoidance. If I don't go there, if I don't talk about it, if I don't do it, then I don't have to address any conflict. I don't want conflict, right? So there are different things that flow in and out of us around procrastination. So, how do we tame the procrastinator who really is our inner saboteur? She brings up the inner critic, she brings up all kinds of fear. And how do we address this? Well, we talk to it, actually. If we can visualize it as a part of us, as a being, as our inner being, a part of our shadow that lives with us, that is only there to protect us. It's it'll keep us from doing things because then we can't get hurt, right? So we can stop and we can pause and we can talk to it. And I will just stop and tap on one spot, like the collarbone, and just, well, there you are, right? And if you give it a name, you can call it anything, Addie, avoider, whatever, and just start to address it. And you can do this in writing, like in your journal, or tapping is a great way. And if you've read my book or you're in it, you'll see that I give some examples about talking to your fear. And so with Rebel Rita, I, worked with her as I can teach you how to give it a new job. Give this shadow a new job. Make it an ally. So Rebel Rita has a job of being my cheerleader. So when I find myself down in the kitchen, in a cupboard, trying to organize it or something, or cleaning up a pile of papers that's been there, instead of working on things I need to, and I become aware of it. That's the number one thing. Become aware of it and address it. And then just, okay, well, there you are, Rebel Rita. Why are we here in the cupboard? You're supposed to cheer me on. You're supposed to help me. And often just that little bit will bring her out of my thoughts in my head and telling me I need to do all these different things. It's as if I have ADD or something. And we get back to work. So try that little thing about just addressing it. You don't have to name it, but it really can help. And then just really look at moving the energy. Now, one of the other things is about energy. It's like not having any motivation. This just happened to me for the past 3 or 4 days. I got hit with it, and I just didn't want to move. I've recently realized it's the new moon, and it's a very watery new moon. I don't know a lot about astrology. I listen to others who are experts, but it can have a heavy energy, and I don't have a lot of fire energy in me all the time. So the idea is when we can't move in our direction of where we want to go with our personal life, our career, with anything, it means that we need to move the most. The more tired we are, the more we need to exercise and move. So start moving in some way. Just do little bits at a time if that's what you have. Getting outside is the very best way. Go for a walk and just get the air. I know this is a tough time around the earth. The air isn't so good. It might be too hot. It might be a fire. It might be the residual smoke from that fire. It might be floods and rain. There's so much going on within our environments. So do what we do here. In fact, my partner Ray just wrote a short little article on the idea of using the plants inside. And he has a big plant that sits on a pedestal so it's almost like a tree. And he just went over to that and started to calm himself from there. So anyway, look at the way you can move your energy. Become aware of when you're actually procrastinating and look at what that is. Just go within, do a little tapping. Why am I doing this? What's going on? What am I afraid of? And just move. Just take time to tap and talk. Get outside and move. Know that it's usually your inner child who thinks it's being ignored and abandoned. Ask the inner child what it needs. I bet it wants to go for a walk. I tell you this all the time. You might be sick of that. But I want you to respond here in the comments or email or get me in the social media and tell me, how do you procrastinate? How does it hit you? And how can I help you? Until next time, we'll see you then.